Hello everybody, how are y'all doing today? It has been a little bit. It has been over a week since the last stream. And yeah, we did not end up doing those tentative streams last week. Mm, for a really good reason, because I was way too busy in the last week. But hey, we're here now. Hopefully I should have a little bit more time to at least do a couple streams here and there. But man, it has been an eventful week, and I cannot wait for this next week to be done, or at least these next 2 weeks to be done. Once these next 2 weeks are done, we're actually living in bliss. We'll actually be home free. I'll have like several months to myself just to work on Project J Eisen, and before I have to actually do anything else. It's gonna be so good. I can already see it right now. I didn't think, this is like the most in the last 4 years, or the most in my like entire life. Oh my god, what the heck is this? What in the It looks like Pangea's working. Oh my god, that was cursed. What the heck was that? Yeah, as I was... Okay, what the fuck was that? I don't fucking know. With Tangia, the extension you just used, you're supposed to be able to put like images or whatever onto the stream, but nobody has ever used it up until this point. I don't think anybody knows about it. Yeah, as I was saying, I think this is the first time in all my years of being in school, not just university, but being in school in general, that I have actually felt this excited about graduating and never having to look at school again. Oh my god, I am so done with this shit. I can't anymore. I can't deal with this anymore. I would rather do full-time work, fucking working 20 hours a day at a company. Okay, maybe not working 20 hours a day, but just not having to worry about work once I'm off of work. Oh my god, I can't wait. Just being able to work on Project J Eisen in my free time again. Having free time in general to work on J Eisen. Oh my god. But why choose that? I don't know, ask Haku. Okay. Okay, Haku. What are you graduating with? We're graduating with a bachelor's in computer science. I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah, just a bachelor's. But this term in particular has just been so fucked. I had the choice of kicking back, relaxing, and taking all of the easy courses, or bird courses as we call them. I had the choice of doing that because I pretty much had all of my requirements to graduate already, except like I need to pass a certain number of courses. I still have to do that. But that would be comp sci. It is comp sci. Bachelor's of Computer Science. But the thing is, I was like looking at the term, and all the courses that I did want to take, I mean, they're still not easy courses, but the courses that I did want to take, stuff like neural networks, like specifically neural networks and stuff like that, they weren't offered in my current term, since I got pushed over one term with the whole fucking 2024 type shit that I don't remember if I've ever talked about. Maybe I have. If I haven't, maybe I can talk about it. Where the fuck is everybody? It's a slow day. It's fine. Yeah, I was looking at my courses, and all of them weren't even offered during my term. So I was just like, ah, fuck, whatever. I was looking at all the other courses, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to take. None of the easy courses sounded interesting to me either. So I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll try the super hard shit. Maybe I'll try all the hard courses. Given it's my last term and whatever, it doesn't really matter if I fail. I didn't really think I was gonna fail. But right now I'm fighting for my life to not fail these fucking courses. I am like on the cusp of failing 3 courses at the moment, 3 of my 5 courses. And I was like, okay, man, what have I done to myself? It's all because of one course taking up literally all of my time. Like last week I didn't stream, but what was my schedule looking like? First 3 days I was able to get like 6 hours of sleep every day. And then the last 4 days, I got maybe on average 2 hours of sleep. So in total during that week, we got like maybe 4 hours of sleep. That doesn't sound very good. Was it 24 hours of sleep? First 3 days, being like 6, 18 plus another. No, it's like 26 hours of sleep. I got 26 hours of sleep last night. And then I ate 1 meal a day for maybe at most half an hour. And then the rest of my time was spent inside of a fucking lab. Oh my god. Yesterday, no, not yesterday. Fucking Monday alone. In the last 4 hours before my assignment was due at 9 a.m., it was like, I went home. I wasn't home at any point besides to go and sleep. And then on Monday, during the last 4 hours, I just went home, sat down at my computer for 4 hours and cranked out like 8,000 lines of C before going back to the fucking lab to test it all again. Like, it was a really hard week, man. And there were like so many points throughout it where I was just like, man, do I just like say fuck this course, take the L, get a 0 on this assignment, get a 0 in the fucking course, and just like chill. Do I just like drop out of school with like 2 weeks left? Oh my god, it was a hard week last week. And it was like, there were a lot of other weeks that were like kind of like that as well, but it was only for 2 days. 2 days where I would pull a double all-nighter to finish the assignments for that course. But this week was just like, man. Oh yeah, limit today I got 6 emotes removed from Twitch. I don't know, man. That's what you get for following a bunch of like, for having a bunch of like sus emotes, you know? I don't fucking know. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna be talking about today. We talked a lot about Jay Eisen in the last 2 streams, or at least in the last Wednesday stream that we had. Maybe there's some more stuff I can talk about them. You use them in the wrong chat. You use them in your 18+ stream chats. SMH. You never talked about the 2024 type shit though? I'm sure I've talked about it once, right? But it was kind of like, I wouldn't say it's the whole reason why I started doing Project J Eisen, but it was like a big contributing factor in that. You spent $110 in bits in one of them. What in the fuck, bro? Yeah. I never really talk about the 2024 shit because it's like more personal stuff. And I have talked about it like a little bit, very briefly. But it's basically like, what? 2024, you guys know the whole job market thing. Maybe you guys know the whole job market thing, for comp sci at least. It was like really fucking shit and whatever. And then you go into, like the entire time I was fucking struggling to find jobs. And I needed jobs if I wanted to graduate because it's like embedded into my program. But then once 2024 is like coming to an end, and then we start getting into like the beginning weeks of 2025, 1 week before I'm supposed to start a job, they end up firing me because they end up reorganizing the entire company and my team got fucking dissolved. So I was left without work. I was left without a school term, which is why I got pushed back an entire fucking term. And yeah, this is like a whole fucking thing. Yeah, that ended up like fucking like, that ended up changing how I perceived a lot of things and ended up pushing me to go through a lot of change before I ended up starting up Project J Eisen, right? Up until that point, I was like still doing mini projects related to Project J Eisen, but never actually committing more than like a week to it. We need a limit cat toggle. Maybe when I can automate it. Maybe when I have time to automate it. But actually, are you thinking of making money from this? Because I don't know why I doing mine as well. Right now it's mostly just a hobby. I'm mostly just doing this for fun. I haven't really considered how I'm going to be making money from this if I ever do. It's probably not going to be from Project JEI, so it's probably just going to purely be from streaming, if anything. Hey gamers, I'm on vacation, so I'm just checking in and continuing the streak of having to watch every single stream. Well, thanks for the commitment, and nice to hear that you're on vacation. Yeah, where are you on vacation to, by the way? Oh my god. Once these 2 weeks are done, well, I still have exams, but I am so fucking chilling. Oh my god, I cannot wait for this fucking vacation. I cannot wait to never have to deal with school again. The thought of never having to worry about assignments again, I don't care if the work that I have has deadlines and I have to work at them at home, but oh my god, anything will be better than my current term right now. You're in France right now? Oh my god, actually jealous. I wanted to go to France while I was working in Germany, but never had the time to do it. And it was never in my vacation plan. And I did do that 1 week fucking adventure. The country you hate because it's shit. It's not that bad. I mean, if you go to like the touristy hotspot places, it is pretty bad. Because you're just like getting mugged all the time or something. You're getting robbed from. How's the train class going? I don't know if you were here in like 10 minutes ago. I talked about it a little bit. But pretty much last week, I got a cumulative 24 hours of sleep. Ate 7 meals. Or no, I ate 8 meals last week. And spent at least 100 hours inside of the lab. I am not gonna bother trying to count up all of it. It was fucking so bad. I think every time I left the lab, it was already like 7 or 8 a.m. And then I would still have class after that. But sometimes I would just go to sleep, say fuck the classes, and miss my classes. I went to like maybe 2 classes that entire week. But once these 2 weeks are over, I never have to think about it again. I might fail the course, to be honest. I got a 0 on the last assignment, because even after those 100+ hours, I didn't finish. But even then, I do not fucking care. I cannot wait for this course to be finished. That's at least 3.5 hours of sleep a day. That's enough, right? That's enough. That's enough. I'm alive, right? I might have lost 50 hours. I might have lost 50 years off my life, but you know what? We got past it. we got past it. It's all worth it, right? It's all worth it. I'm learning and have a 0 in the course right now, but I'm learning. Oh my fucking god. The only good thing about this course...
Damn it, you need to sweep, so make Sue to get a few 10 hours of sweep tonight, okay? Ooh, nya.
Okay, bro. What do you think I was doing yesterday? I slept... Oh, how many hours? I was supposed to work on another assignment yesterday after I woke up from my nap. But I ended up sleeping for like 20 hours. I finished the assignment, walked in. Well, no, we didn't finish the assignment. The deadline came up and it was time for our demo. We walked into the demonstration. We showed off what we were supposed to present like 2 weeks before then. Completely failed. And then we're just like, yeah, we'll finish it by next week. How about that? We'll finish it by next week. And then we just went home and slept for like 20 hours. It was the best fucking... It was the kind of sleep where you just fall in bed. You just can't sleep because you're too tired, but your entire body is just numb. So you're like sleeping, but you're also awake. It was that kind of sleep. Limit, from all the information you've given us, it really sounds like you're actually neglecting your health for a school project. That is the case. That is the case. That is the kind of course that this is. Because it's the hardest course in, or it is known as one of the hardest courses in the entire university. And it's like, the motto is that if you aren't giving up your entire life for this course, then you aren't doing the course properly. It's one of the courses where I can confidently say that I am probably going to fail it. But do I regret taking it? In terms of time commitment, yeah, I do regret it. I didn't think I would be spending 100+ hours most weeks to get it finished, but I can also say that this is probably the course that will be the most influential to me probably ever. Not just in terms of like the things that I learn, because this is going to be really useful for Project J.E. Eisen in the future, but it's also like, man, it's amazing what the human body can go through in terms of like willpower and grit when you really set your mind to it. I did not think I had this in me to like actually finish a course like this. I took it kind of like as a, you know what, it can't be that bad, right? We'll take it for the flex. And then it ended up being like, it can't be that bad. We're taking it just to say that we've taken it. I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to be doing a huge email reset since I'm moving soon, and new accounts for everything. Why do you need a new email reset for if you're moving? You know what, you do you. It's fine. Just let me know when you finish that. But yeah, it's like, this course has been really hard, but I think it really has pushed me in a way and shown me that I don't think there's ever going to be a harder experience than the courses that I'm going through right now. I don't think there's ever going to be a point along Project J.E. Eisen's timeline where that plus the full-time job that I'm going to be starting in like half a year's time is going to be harder than anything I've done in these last 4 months. And that's kind of reassuring because I've already proven to myself that I can get through something like this. So yeah, that's kind of like the main thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure what else to talk about today either. It's not going to be a very long stream today. It might be an hour, might be an hour and a half, because I still have 3 more assignments due at the end of this week that I need to get started on. Oh yeah, and fucking last week as well. Last week, before the Monday, there was an assignment that was supposed to be due on Friday, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just take my 2 days absence and finish it over the weekend because I literally do not have time to finish that. I did that. I handed it in. I thought the course had a 2 days absence, just automatically. Well, it did not, and I got a 0 on that assignment, even though everything was working perfectly. So there's also that. That's 25% of my mark gone. Oh well. Limit, you want to share the image I sent in mod chat? What, you getting banned or whatever off of Discord? No, it's all good. I kind of get it, as in, you know that you've gone through worse, so nothing will ever be that bad. Yeah, exactly. Nothing will ever be that bad. Even when the shit gets rough with Project J.E. Eisen and full-time work at the same time, I don't think I would be taking a break. Unless if I actually need the break to get it done, right? I don't think we'll ever reach that point again. Just because of, yeah, I don't think anything will ever top this in terms of difficulty. Which is saying a lot, because I've done a lot of difficult shit in my time. Both physically and mentally. How did you get banned, Haku? I do not know how this guy got banned, to be honest. Let me even see how this guy even got banned. Oh, you probably just got fucking hate trained or something in another server. Thanks for the 6-month resub, Anthony. Actual dedication. 6 for 6 months.
Never say never. Life is unpredictable and you are forcing it to do it XD.
Actually no, 6 for 7 months. So close to greatness. Never say never. Life is unpredictable and you are forced saying it to do it. I am forcing my life to be unpredictable. How do you get a 1-day ban? Probably just appealed. You get himself unbanned, to be honest. But yeah. What else? What else? There are a number of other hard courses that I'm taking right now, but none of them require as much commitment. They're just like conceptually confusing, maybe. And so in that regard, they aren't as bad, right? When I mean like a hard course, I mean one that literally sucks all your time and energy just to pass. Like, this is a course where like, okay, we started off with maybe 40 people in the course. And then after the first week, after the first assignment, there were 14 people. There were 14 people left in the class. And I like barely finished that assignment. I finished the first assignment with like 10 minutes left to spare. And I still decided to go through with it. I fully knew that I was like gonna probably fail this course. And it was gonna be a really hard course, but I still decided to do it anyway. And I don't know why I decided to do it. There's just so much stuff that I want to talk about that course, but I don't even know where to start with it. Where do I even start with that fucking course? Surely you can report them for false reporting? Aku's got a lot in the background. I mean, I'm sure he's probably already reported them. You're just wondering what's the best way to die painlessly in Minecraft? Bruh. Discord sided with them? Bruh. I'm really not sure what I want to talk about today. Some stuff about Project JE Ison. Yeah, I haven't actually worked on Project JE Ison all of last week and the week before for obvious reasons. And so the last JE Ison that you saw is still the current JE Ison, and it probably will still be the case for the next week. After this week though, once Wednesday rolls around, that's when I finish that trains course. And that's when I can finally get started working on everything else. So once August starts, basically, pretty much all I'm thinking of is probably Project JE Ison. All my other courses, I don't fucking give a shit about them. I'll just get a 50 on the exam and that's fine. Whatever, I'm never seeing these courses again, never seeing this university again. So I'm probably going to dedicate most of my time to working on Project JE Ison and getting her new models done. I don't think there's any new features that I want to add to Project JE Ison, at least for the time being. And so I'm pretty confident in releasing like version 2.3 or yeah, version 2.3 and releasing that with all the memory modules, the MCP stuff. Her memory modules are still very crude, and that's probably just something I'm going to be working off stream. I'm going to be probably giving her like several different kinds of memory modules. Something like, I don't know. I'm still going to be following like the long-term, short-term, and then working memory, but how I implement each one. Long-term is probably going to be just a vector store. Short term is also another vector store, but also like, also a knowledge graph probably. And then last but not least, the episodic or the working memory is just her normal script, her normal context window. That's probably going to be fine. I'm not going to be focusing that much on working on Project JE Ison directly, but probably working on the videos because holy fuck. I can't keep procrastinating on these videos. And with all the free time that I'll have once August starts, I'll actually be able to work on these videos full time throughout the days. And hopefully by the end of the week, I should have at least one video done, right? It's gonna take a while because I want to redo the video for this whole refactoring thing. Alright, you have a YouTube channel. You almost forget, with how long it's been, you almost forget that I have a YouTube channel. You never wished me happy birthday 6 days ago? It was your birthday 6 days ago? Well, happy belated birthday. Bro, I could not. You pinged me? Bro, I was too deep in the trenches of trains to really think of anything. Everything was just a blur over the last 6 weeks. Over the last 7 days. 7 to 8 days. He hates you. I hate all my mods. I hate you all equally. There you go.
The subscribers on Limit channel looking at his last video. Is he dead or something?
Exactly. The YouTube frogs are just crying right now. Oh right, no, I remember now. I remember. Yes. You turned. You leveled up in age, and then you were telling me to upload a video for your birthday, but I was like, nah, bro, I'm too dead. That's messed up. Haku is hated more. Guys, this isn't a hate contest. Come on. Yeah, bro. It was fucking crazy. There were so many moments. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on Twitch. You know. There were moments last week where I was thinking to myself, because trains is like a group assignment where you and your partner have to finish the assignment. There were moments during that where I was just contemplating, like, you know what? Maybe strangling my partner in Minecraft is a viable solution to finishing this assignment. Because oh my fucking god, man. Oh my fucking god. I cannot with this guy sometimes. Like, yes, he does carry his weight. He has been carrying his weight for like pretty much this entire term. But last week, I was just like reaching my breaking point with him. Oh my fucking god. I was reaching my breaking point with him because the entire week, he knew that we did not finish the last assignment, and this assignment required last assignment to be finished. And so, the entire week, I was working on this shit solo to get it up and running, and then working towards this next milestone. This guy, I did not see him once this entire fucking week until the last 4 hours before the assignment was due. The last 4 hours before the assignment was due. Okay, no. The last 3 hours before the assignment was due. Before then, I went home to work on the assignment on my fucking desktop because I could not work on my laptop anymore. I was getting like shoulder pain, elbow pain. The screen was too tiny and I needed to like copy files around and all that shit. So like I did not want to work on Linux. I did not want to work on NeoVim anymore. So I went back home to work on VS Code. And then he was like, okay, well, I'll be in the, I'll come into the lab at 1 a.m. And I told him that I would be working on a completely different approach to finishing this milestone because I really don't think a timing-based approach is reliable enough to complete this assignment. And even if it were a viable approach, we would spend too long debugging and tuning like parameters and shit to even get it done by the demonstration. And he was very adamant about the timing approach. And so I was like, okay, I really don't think we're gonna finish that in time. So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna finish my fucking version of it, which is what I cranked out 4,000 fucking lines of in like 2 hours. And then he was like, okay, well, I'll be in the lab. I'll be like trying to get the timings working. And so I was fully expecting him to be in the lab working on that shit all fucking day, or ever since 1 a.m. When I come back at 5 fucking a.m., I see the other guys inside of the lab, some of the other guys still working, and I just look around, I don't see my groupmate, and I asked them, yo, has my groupmate been in yet? And they looked at each other just like, you had a groupmate? This entire time they were like, you had a group meet, and then one of them was just like, no, I haven't seen him the entire fucking day. And I'm just like, I dropped to my knees at that moment. Like, I was like, you're fucking kidding me. I thought for the last 4 fucking hours, this guy was in the lab cranking away trying to get the timings done, but he hasn't even stepped foot into the lab once to even measure the timings. And I'm just like, oh my fucking god. Like, because I know how long it takes to measure the timings. I did it 2 days before then, and it took me 6 hours to measure the timings for like 5 different trains, right? It took a really fucking long time just to get like the bare minimum timings, and he needed to come in and do additional timing measurements to get the rest of his done. And so there was no way he was gonna finish in time. And this guy comes in 2 hours later when there's like 3 to 2 hours left before the assignment is due and demonstrations have to start. And I'm just like, bro, you're not finishing in time. I don't think he's looked at any of the other code besides its pathfinding code and his collision code, to the point where I'm just like, okay, you can keep working on that, because I don't think you're gonna like even attempt to agree with me and work on my version. And I'm not going to agree with you, so I'm going to continue working on my version because I feel like I'm really close to getting something demonstratable, right? And lo and behold, once demonstration starts, this guy's implementation just like doesn't work. And at least mine makes it to the destination, but once we had to put multiple trains on the fucking track, the entire system breaks. Because like, we couldn't test anything. We didn't have enough time to test anything. Ugh. He's just making you do it all? I don't think he's just making me do it all. This guy was working, but he just never showed up to this guy just like, I don't know, he dropped the ball in the last 2 weeks. He never showed up to
Train Jason model on coding and use her as your partner XD. She for sure will help you more.
No,
of course in the group project there will be someone that does nothing or almost nothing.
Well, it's literally just a 2-person group. It's just me and him. I've been fine with him. I've been like praising this guy even for like all the way up until we started the whole train control portion of the assignments, right? The last 4 weeks or so. And I feel like in these last 2 weeks, he really did drop the ball. We still have other courses, and considering that it is end of term, we're gonna both reasonably, we're both gonna be really busy, right? I still got 3 more assignments due, but that's just because I chose to not do them last week and spend the entirety of last week to like finish trains. And so now I'm stuck with like doing all 3 assignments this week, which is like pretty typical. That happened last time as well, right? But oh my fucking god. I did not expect him to like not only not show up to the lab the entire fucking week when he knew we were probably the most behind of any group, but also like the fact that this guy wasn't communicating at all about his implementation. When we planned it, I told him after doing like measurements for 6 hours and seeing how unreliable it is, I told him explicitly that timings was just not going to work. And then he ghosted me and went off to make a timings-based approach. And it's just like, oh my fucking god, we don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. I don't even think I could train J.A. Eisen to help me code on this. Well, unless if I fine-tune my own model, but even then, it's just like, there's not enough information to fine-tune her on. Because we tried using Gemini, we tried using GPT, we tried using all of these fucking LLMs to even just try and help us get through it. But the specifications are too specific for it to really work out. There's too many like caveats you just have to know through experience that it just wouldn't work out. And it's like the kind of experience that I was fucking developing over the last 100 hours of working on this. What did you send on? Okay, bro, you need to calm down. What the fuck? Why is J.E. Eisen here? J.E. Eisen is our free model. There have been other VTubers that used her model before. I remember when I first started streaming, there was a guy, I don't remember who, that came up to me and just like, yo, why are you stealing this VTuber's model? I swear this is someone else's model. And I'm just like, bro, I got this for like free off of Etsy.
Sir Pachinko is now following.
Thank you for the follow, Sir. How do I say? Sir Perchinka. Yes.
Gambling time.
Okay, this guy hears something even remotely close to gambling, and he's like, oh, it's gambling time, guys, it's gambling time. Pachinko, it's gambling time. No, you didn't get it for free? Don't lie limit? Okay, I got it for 7 cents, my bad. I got it for 7 cents when in reality it should have been free. Oh my god, I should probably switch to the free version because the one that I paid for 7 cents is literally the free bundle, but stripped of all of the other like expressions and whatever. The reseller actually scammed me of 7 cents. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. That's like, if you think about it, up until this point, that is like 1 cent a month. Damn. Cents are like worth nothing in Canada either, so it doesn't even matter. Easiest 7-cent profit from that guy has ever seen. I swear this guy is making bank off of that. Is it because it's like on Etsy, one of the top models, 7 cents each? Think of how much profit this guy made. If this guy sold that VTuber model like 1,000 times, he's probably made $70 off of that. And I think he's probably sold it more than 1,000 times. 70 bucks ain't nothing, you know? Especially when you're ripping off of free models. That's like $70 of pure profit, doing nothing. What else? What else? I believe last Limit Talk stream, I talked about how we're transitioning away from being Project J.E. Eisen to being Project Vita. Again, that doesn't mean J.E. Eisen's name is going to be Vita. That is completely separate. Project Vita is just the project name, so just the code, not J.E. Eisen herself. And that also means that we're going to be refactoring Project J.E. Eisen to no longer be this full supporting several different implementations and APIs and whatever, but just going to be one specific implementation and sticking with that moving forward, right? And then Project Vita is going to be focused on doing all the UI stuff and all the other interesting parts that actually make her a content creator and not just a feature-rich chatbot. Limit, how close is the thing to being done? Everything is done. It is just me needing to make new models, and that is it. So considering all the things that I have learned in the last month or so of working on Project J.E. Eisen, I should be able to finish in the next 2 weeks after August starts. The next 2 weeks when I have time and finish the videos. I want to finish the videos before I actually announce what's going on, but yeah. Timeline looks like it should be done within August, which is good because that was the plan. Yo, Limit, I heard these things called plugins. Yeah, shut up. We are not adding plugins back into Vita. The closest thing you're getting to plugins is an MCP server, and that is it. 80% of the project is done in 20% of time, and you'll spend 80% of the project in the last 20%. Well, we've already finished the 80%. In fact, we've already finished the 90% towards this milestone. It is probably just the last 10% and just spending time tuning it and then getting the vibes right. You love plugins, you are a masochist. How about you write plugins for me? You know, make a fork of Project J.E. Eisen, re-add plugins, you know, it can't be that bad. No, I love watching you suffer. Okay, buddy. Rewrite it in Rust. You know, after this entire trains course, there was a part of me that was low-key like, you know what? Why does it need to be Python? Why does it need to be Python? What if we just rewrote this entire thing in C? That way, we don't have to deal with Python shitty package management anymore, and we can just bundle all of the features together, all of the runtimes together. But then I thought about it, and I was just like, you know what? That's basically what Project Vita is going to be. I'm thinking like, because I've been seeing a lot of questions, especially with the, I don't even know what happened with Python recently, but like, there was like this change where for some reason, some of the core dependencies, some of the core conda dependencies like MySQL or Wave, they've been having like compile issues. And so you can't really make Project JEISON, at least with the current configuration that's in main, right? I did make a fix for this, but I haven't pushed them out yet. I've been thinking to myself, I'm just like, you know what? It might be easier to manage the install of everything if I just wrote it in C or some other language that has a better package manager. But at the same time, it's just like, all of these projects, all of these AI projects, they are so bad when it comes to version management. Like sometimes you'll have a version like 3.3, for example. They release that, it's officially released, people are using it. And then all of a sudden, they make a silent breaking change and then re-release version 3.3. And then all of a sudden, everybody's version is broken. It can't compile correctly. And it's just like, what the fuck? But it's like, I feel like a lot of that could be alleviated if I just fork my own version for all of the packages that Project JEISON uses, and then bundle them together with Project JEISON or Project Vita, let's say. We bundle it all together with Project Vita, and we say, okay, we don't need to fucking worry about all these other guys making breaking changes or whatever. We might not get security patches unless if I explicitly patch them in myself, but that's okay, you know? That's what most companies do anyways. They have their own fucking internal dependencies and they only patch them with security patches when they need it, okay? They always keep their versions fixed and that's fucking fine, right? It might be hard because like, I know the difficulties of trying to maintain packages that way. It is super fucking annoying, but you know what? It makes sure that nothing fucking breaks and everything builds correctly. So there's always that. I'm sadistic. I have a challenge for you. For 1 week, only get 8 hours of sleep every single day. I don't know, man. That is kind of difficult. Getting 8 hours of sleep every single day? I don't think I got time for that, mate. Once like August rolls around, that's definitely gonna be what happens. Actually, no. It might not happen because I'll be fucking too busy grinding out for Project JEISON this time. But you know what? When September hits, like 8 hours of sleep every single day, I cannot wait. 8 hours of sleep more than twice a week? Nah, that's impossible. Exactly. It's fucking impossible. I swear, when was the last time I got a full week of 8 hours of sleep? I'm trying to think. There was that 1 week where I was like super lazy, procrastinated the entire week. I think I got like 8 hours of sleep every single day. But I don't think, besides then, I've gotten 8 hours of sleep since starting school. Like every single day for a week. I don't know. It's hard. That's just how things go, you know? You deserve 8 hours of sleep per day. You deserve 8 hours of sleep per day, but you don't always get what you deserve, now do you? I'll pay you $100 to do it. You can't pay me to do anything. You're having a nightmare building your own multimodal project. It's like a different version per Docker environment. Oh my god, this is it's like possible. Or no, it's not possible. What am I saying? It would be so much easier if I went down the route of using Docker containers to make Project JEISON, especially when I was working on making plugins or whatever. Making a Docker file and then providing that, it would have been so much easier when it comes to deploying and releasing Project JEISN. And honestly, a part of me still thinks that is the truth. But we've come so far in making Project JEISN be like a native application that doesn't require Docker or whatever, that I kind of want to try and keep it that way. I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of sentiment recently that that Docker is mainly just an excuse to package up slop so you can deliver slop, right? Because it's like the whole point of having Docker, right, is so you can package and easily release like really convoluted projects with really fucked up runtime environments or runtime environments that purely depend on Linux and whatever. But basically, I didn't want to use Docker because one, it just raises the deployment complexity or the setup complexity of having to use Project JEISN, and two, I don't think it promotes the best coding practices. If you're like in a corporate environment where all people care about, right, is just getting things deployed with as little friction as possible between different services, and you have different teams working on their own separate services, then yeah, Docker makes sense, right? But if you're working on your like own native environment where you have control over everything, then Docker really isn't necessary, unless if you're just like, you don't want to deal with having different setups or different environments for different projects or whatever. Not true. You develop for one environment and you can which is Docker, and can run your project anywhere where Docker can be ran. Yes. Docker just makes virtualization on any machine like possible, right? So you can run the same bit of code literally anywhere without caring about anything. But at the same time, it's like Docker is still has its own layer in between your project and hardware. Sure, it may be better than just running it. It may be faster than running it on Windows directly, right? But at the same time, it's just like this additional layer of friction, especially if you're working with like front-end applications, unless if you're making a web application or whatever, right? But there's still this like layer. There's still this layer of abstraction that like just isn't needed. I don't know. I'm not saying like Docker's a bad thing. It has its use cases, but to say that you should use it for everything is not the case. I just like the idea of being modular. That was me as well. When I was making plugins, the entire idea was for everything to be modular. As things advances, you can drop one Docker for another with a master orchestrator, but it's just my own personal project, testing things I find interesting. Yeah, that's like kind of like the whole point, right, of it being modular. But as I've continued to work on Project JEISN, I've slowly developed the mindset that things really don't need to be modular. Sure, they can be modular, but I think for best practices, and if you want the best results out of something like Project JEISN, then really you should be trying to deliver with only one implementation. Okay, having more implementations, sure, having more options is always better, right? But you need to realize that the people that you're delivering something like Project JEISN to, they're only going to be using one implementation ever. And the people that are using Project JEISN, they may not know the differences or the sort of nuances between using something like OpenAI ChatGPT as your model versus using a fully fine-tuned model specifically built for Project JEISN, right? They may not have this kind of experience, they may not have this understanding to really make the best choices in terms of getting the best result out of Project JEISN. So currently, while I do have a ton of different integrations for stuff like OpenAI, for Fish and all of this stuff, right? Because of how much experience I do have already in working in this stuff, I have a better idea as to what is better than something else. I may not have the best idea as to what is the best out there, but I have a better understanding than most people who are probably picking up AI VTubing for the first time, let's say. And so I feel like by reducing the number of implementations, by keeping it to only one implementation, there's less decision paralysis, there's less configuration first off, but there's also less decision paralysis, and it also makes sure that the people who are using something like Project JEISON are using the best choices, right? Maybe you can say just make the default choice the best choice, and that would reduce like decision paralysis and make it so people who are more experienced or have their own setups can still use Project JEISON, but with their own implementations or whatever. But at the same time, it's just like, at that point, I feel like those sorts of developers would already have their own setups, would already know what they're doing, and they could easily like swap out the integration with their own or something like that, right? And just trying to upkeep like 10 different implementations for something like TTS is not really feasible in the long run. At least for a solo developer like me, it's not really feasible to upkeep all of these different versions, because in my case, it's kind of different, right? It's not like I'm testing out, swapping in and out modules as I see fit and using the best ones for myself and ignoring the ones that don't really work, right? Once I add an implementation, it kind of stays there as an option. And even if I'm not using it, even if I'm not interested in that option, I still need to upkeep it in order for other people who are using it to still be able to use it and still get a good experience out of it, right? But I don't know, kind of reducing the amount of options that I have, kind of reducing the modularity of it, makes it so I don't have to deal with all these abstraction layers, makes it a lot simpler for me to upkeep and make sure that people who are using Project JEISON are getting a good out-of-box experience without needing to go through the configuration that is the current configuration, right? Because it's like, man, it's like, do people really know the differences between why we use something like Fish over OpenAI plus RBC, over PyTTS, over Azure Speech Services, right? I don't think people would really have enough experience to really say which one they want, or even have enough experience to know the pros and cons of using one over another. If you didn't see plugins, it was wild. It was a wild experience. It's like, this whole mindset really developed from plugins, right? My whole disdain for trying to keep things modular in the way of working with Docker containers and stuff like that. It is really fucking frustrating when you make one change to an API and then you need to go through and change 15 other modules to be consistent with that API. Because nobody else is helping you to maintain that shit, and you're pretty much the only person that can maintain that shit. I just like the idea of being modular. Oh, you already read that. Yeah, the project like yours, consistency is king. Yes, exactly. Consistency is king. Because when it comes to like your own personal projects where you're the only person using it, you only need to update things once you actually need to start using it again. So you only really need to update one thing at a time. And so it also makes like speed of development a lot easier, because it makes it so if you do have a breaking change, you don't necessarily have to immediately go and update the integrations for everything else, because you don't really care about those anymore, right? Really, all he needs is like a config for a standardized model endpoint like Ollama or OpenAI, whatever. Trying to support all interfaces is impossible. Yes, and that is kind of like what we have right now for text-to-text, right? Text-to-text, we're pretty much only using OpenAI. I mean, we do have Cobalt, but we don't even need the Cobalt implementation either. You can still use OpenAI, that version with Cobalt. But that's like not even what I mean, right? Because that is still giving like decisions to the user. I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? Again, it is not a bad thing if you want to support that kind of thing. But what I mean is having one runtime engine that is best in slot. Because even with OpenAI, you can choose whatever backend you want, right? You can choose OpenAI to be your backend. You can choose any other OpenAI compatible endpoints to be your runtime. And really, I just want to keep things simple, right? I don't want to have to tell people, oh, you got to run this process before you can run Project JAISON. You don't have to run. I don't want them to be like, oh, you have to run Ollama before running Project JAISON. And I also don't want it so Project JAISON also has to manage Ollama, right? Or have to try and manage running LM Studio, Ollama, because then it starts to become like integration nightmare, where it's not just supporting different APIs, but also supporting running of different processes now, right? I mean, it may be kind of universal how you manage a process, because all they are is just starting a process and then closing down a process when it's not needed, right? It's not like there's additional configuration, unless maybe there is additional configuration. You never know, right? But I think the simplest way is to just pick a specific runtime and then using that as the runtime for everything, right? Kind of like what is done with LM Studio. Their runtime is Llama CPP, and maybe they have different Llama CPP runtimes, right? One for CUDA, one for CPU, one for Vulkan, whatever, right? That's completely fine because the setup for all of that is still completely the same. But what I mean is just like using one runtime for everything reduces the complexity of having to deploy things once you actually start a project JAISON, but also reduces the configuration and like the barrier to entry to everything. You can use a makefile to hide the complexity of setting up the project for the end user. It is not just installation, it is the actual configuration aspect that I'm talking about. The parts that the user should have control over, right? Because right now, we don't have a makefile, right? We're not working with C, right? But we still have like makefile equivalent for Python. But the problem is just that, actually there's no problem with it. It's just that the current setup that we do have right now, I feel like the installation process is easy. It's just that these projects and Python itself just makes breaking changes all the time that ends up messing up with the project. And so even though the current version of Project JAISON that's in main, even though that one was working when I had released it, because of all the changes to like Python 3.12 inside of Conda and whatever, their core dependency just broke. And so that version is broken, but I have a version on my machine that is working, which I do need to release. And so that just becomes like, okay, whatever, fucking setup, right? That's like a one-time thing. But configuration is a bigger problem in my eyes. What else? With Project Vita, I also wanted to like reduce the complexity of getting an initial thing running, right? Currently, we have Project JAISON as the core, which is like the core server for everything, right? But I also want to bundle it with all the other applications to kind of get started, right? Having a Discord bot, as well as having a, or maybe not a Discord bot. Discord bot requires too much outside setup, but having like a way to talk and hear JAISON, or yeah, hear from Project Vita, and a way to control something like VTube Studio. Maybe I can make a bundled release. So not just like the releases of these servers or whatever, but just having like a specific downloadable zip that includes all the projects with their proper setups and everything to start running Project AIs. And that way the people who don't really know Python or whatever can still download and get started using without having to go to the questions channel and being like, why is my MySQL broken? Or something like that, right? I feel like that could be something that makes things a lot easier. Because one of the feedbacks that I did get a long time ago was that setting up Project AISN is just too complicated with how many different projects there are needed just to get started playing around with the actual models themselves, right? You need JASN core, you need the Discord bot, you need to set up the Discord bot, and then you need to like do all this other extra crap. It's like too much for a first-time person to commit to and get started. Even like for people really dedicated in the AI VTubing space, right? I've had people that are actually like really into the AI VTubing space, other AI VTubers who were helping out with a project come up to me and just like, bro, I know I promised that I was gonna like give this a try and test things out, but this is like too complicated and I don't have the time to really try it out. And so, I don't know, reducing the friction there in terms of setup is another big thing that we need to get done. And that should be easier once we switch over to something like Project Vita. I've seen people, but the whole friggin' Python exe in their
Why are
project
we so lazy? XDI mean we could help with contributions on JSON, but the laziness is too much.
I know. It used to be before I did the whole huge refactor thing. It used to be that there were a bunch of people who were adamant about trying to help out with Project AISN, but I feel like the project has gotten to a size, one of those sizes, and with a community with not enough like active, really in-depth AI developers that can really continue to help with the project. I mean, sure, there might be people who can, right? But I don't think they want to spend the time to go through the entire repository to actually see what needs improvements or whatever, right? Because I think they're all just too busy making their own AI VTubers. Maker Sing? Singing is going to be a whole nother journey. I probably won't start that until like maybe a couple months from now, right? Because I want to get things done properly for JEIS, and I want to get her actually able to making content that isn't just karaoke streams, right? I think karaoke streams is like something that can be done later on as kind of like a bonus, but I want her to be able to make content on her own, play games, interact with other people, collab partners, whatever. We make our own things anyways. Exactly. All the people who know a lot about the AI VTubers are working on their own AI VTubers, right? The people who are contributing to these massive open source projects, like Open VTuber and whatever, I don't even know if people are really doing so, but those people are more interested in making a holistic AI agent than they are in making an AI VTuber, I would say. And also it's just like, I think people just want to dedicate more of their efforts to the top dogs, right? It's not like Project JEISN is a top dog in that regard. Maybe it's like in the top 20, but I feel like most people are going to be focusing their efforts and contributions to like the top 3. Right? And so I kind of can't expect people to help out with the project. It would be really nice if people did, and if people like found problems when working with Project JEISN that they did contribute it upstream, or at least filed an issue for it. But I think, yeah, for the most part, I'm going to be expecting to really just treat this as a passion project, really. Because like I said before, Project JEISN isn't, I don't know, I didn't really think it was going to be one of those projects that really defines the AI VTubing space. But I just thought of it more as a reference for people to use for their own projects and whatever, right? I was originally pretty hesitant about letting people even contribute to Project JEISN in the first place because, again, this is also like a way for me to learn how to make an AI VTuber and all of this kind of stuff, right? It was a way for me to learn different parts of AI systems and try my hand at implementing these sorts of features. And so I was kind of hesitant in letting people implement new features like an MCP server before I have made my own MCP client or server. And so, I don't know. There's kind of like that friction as well. But generally nowadays, I'm more fine with people contributing to the project, especially now that I've gotten most of what I wanted to do for the main server done, right? I'm more comfortable with people contributing to the project. But I think most people, their interest in trying to contribute to the project has died away. And especially now that I've announced like, oh, we're going to be starting Project Vita, moving away from Project JAISIN as a concept, I think people are going to be even less interested. And so now this has just become a solo project for me, where people can use it as a reference, or maybe people will download it and try to use it for their own AI VTubers, right? I'm not really going to be expecting people to be contributing, although I do hope people do try and contribute, because that it would be really cool to have like a lot of people to contribute and make Project Vita better, really. Wait, we can help with JAISIN? You always could help with JAISIN, it's just that most people don't. Pay you guys to work on Project Vita or Project JAISIN? Maybe when I'm making enough money to do so. I am burning money at the moment, both on Project JAISIN and just living in general. I'm burning money and trying to get fucking shit done already. I probably wouldn't be able to sustain the current rate that I'm doing things for another year, just to put things into perspective. At least not until I actually start working again. Once I start working again, maybe I can do it indefinitely, but definitely not full-time. What's Vita? Vita is basically the new version of Project JAISIN. It is basically going to be Project JAISIN 3.0 moving forward, right? It's just a new name for the project, exactly. Project JAISIN, Project Vita, they're basically going to be the same thing, maybe with some minor differences. But it's still going to be open source, it's still going to be publicly available, and it's still going to be an AI VTuber that anybody can try and customize and use for their own AI VTuber. That's still going to be the central focus, right? But I think the central focus for me as a developer is I'm going to have like two versions, right? Project Vita, I guess, development, and then Project Vita production. Project Vita production is whatever you guys are going to be getting. And then Project Vita development is going to be whatever I use for project for my AI VTuber, for JAISIN, right? Like the features will be given to JAISIN, tested rigorously on like streams and whatever before I really decide if it's a feature good enough or reasonable enough to include in the production version of Project Vita. I think that's how things are going to be going. And so pretty much the development version, or what JAISIN uses, will end up looking completely different from what's in production, but the same kind of ideas and features will be in place, right? It's just that their code bases might be completely different. So JAISIN will be the testing grounds to see if I even like a feature. And then once I like a feature and have enough experience working with it, I re-implement it for the production version and then give that out. Sign a contract, all 24% and all 25% of future income goes to me and Lux? Bro. Me the Lux boy. I'm gonna be actually broke if that's the case. 25% of all income, does that include my full-time job? Yo, I can't agree to these terms. Just like some V Shoujo type shit. Could take best practices and have a log or dedicated area to track. What do you mean? What do you mean a dedicated area to track? I could have like a dedicated area to track changes I make to Project JA Ison, and then eventually I'd go down the list to evaluate what I want to add for each version of Project Vita. I don't know. What's your thoughts on other AI VTubers? Viola, Hilda, Alice? I don't interact with a lot of other AI VTubers, right? The most I really do is raid and sometimes even watch them. I think the person that I really talk to or have talked to the most is Hilda. Hilda's really nice. Hilda is... I think they're pretty passionate about trying to see this project come into fruition. And I think in general, they're a pretty chill streamer, right? I mean, they are kind of like, we kind of consider him to be the grandfather of AI VTubing, let's say, or at least a pioneer for a lot of these other ones, right? A lot of the other AI VTubers, I don't really have much of an opinion on. I mean, they're just a bunch of chill streamers, right? They're a bunch of chill streamers doing their own thing. Can't really say anything more besides that because I don't really know them too well. Maybe I have my own opinions, sure, but let's just leave it at that. We can name the agency Bishoyo. Hey, that is a one-way ticket to getting fucking canceled. The company's not surviving the agency's not surviving for a fucking month, bro. Nobody's gonna wanna join. They only have one VTuber left, and she's not leaving because she's recovering from the shit show. God. Thank you.
Kabuki Bear is now following.
Thank you, Kabuki Bear, for the follow. Limit, do you want a 2K raid when you release JE Ison fully? That is a lot of people. Maybe, sure. When JE Ison releases fully, sure. You know, you can raid the debut stream. I just really hope that JE Ison won't flop when she releases fully, but yeah, that's just like something I have to worry about in the future. I'm gonna have to do so much off-stream testing to even make sure that it fucking works for that moment, but I don't know, maybe when I have time I can test that out. That would be so funny. I'm gonna clip it so much. Oh my god. Imagine first stream, JE Ison gets cancelled in front of 2K viewers. Fuck, bro. I don't know if I could recover from that. I don't think I could ever recover emotionally from that. News, JE Ison becomes the new Grok, and new AI VTuber dev gets cancelled. Fastest way to get cancelled ever. Oh my god. And I was also thinking, like, maybe I asked this before, maybe I asked this like 2 streams ago, but I was thinking like, I want to give like JE Ison a Twitter or a Blue Sky account, but I'm not sure which one to do. I could probably do both, honestly. I'll make like an account for JE Ison, and then she could do like the Neurosama thing, fucking, and doing tweets out every single day, or like fucking flaming grog. Are you going to get a personal model for JE Ison, a VTuber model? That's a secret. I can't say if I am or am not. I think it should be pretty obvious, but I'm not going to say it. Please let us talk to her in Discord. When I get my framework desktop and I can run my own server on my own network, then sure, I'll do that. It would be awesome if we could get AI models to chat with in Discord to show the peeps and teach them about things. I don't know if I would want to use JAI Syn's streaming model or Discord model for Discord. I mean, I guess it would probably be the fucking streaming one, because the Discord one is like pretty shit. It's like 1 to 2 liners. Blue Sky won't get her destroyed. I could just do both. I could just do both X and Blue Sky, honestly. Discord, it's better. Yeah, I know. I'll add her to Discord, don't worry. I'll add her to Discord, but I'm just saying, like, on top of that. X or Blue Sky. Why have her write a long-ass paragraph? Because I think that's just more interesting. And it's more like rough. It's more like in line with what her personality would be on streams as well, you know? If I were to make it like a Discord specific model, I can't guarantee the personality would be the same. And it wouldn't be as fun to talk to, I would think. Let me host my Chunibyo in Discord. Maybe I could let the mods have their AI VTubers or their AI personalities and have a chat for them inside of the Discord. But I don't know how that would work, to be honest. I don't know if I would even let that be a thing. I mean, you can probably add it. I wouldn't... If you're bots, or if you're a Discord personality, or if you're... Oh, fucking, what am I saying? If your chatbot has a user account, I'm fine with letting you have them join the server and talk in general. But I don't think I'm gonna have like a dedicated for people to chat with it because, well, I just don't know how that would play out, to be honest. Like if I were to let all of you add your chatbots and then put them all in the same room as each other, fucking gladiator style, and then they would start talking to each other and the fucking conversation would go down the slop. Because I've seen that happen before with my when I put 2 JAI Syns in the same chat together, had them active at the same time, and they start talking to each other in fucking Morse code. Oh my god, I remember when that happened. It like fucking devolves from normal human conversation and they start talking to each other in machine code. A showcase category for each channel, its own bot, maybe. But then it would only be the moderators who get their own chatbot channels, to be honest. And I don't know. I feel like, if anything, it would be a lot better if I just kept it to being bots who have user accounts who can chat. God damn! Right? I think that's just like a more fair thing for everybody. What else? What else? Is there anything else I want to talk about? Out of ideas? Yeah, I'm out of ideas as well. There isn't much to talk about, right? Literally the last time you see me, I've literally done nothing besides trains, and I've already talked enough about trains. Let's talk about something. If there's nothing else left to talk about, then I'll probably end stream here, because I still got 3 more assignments that I need to do. Like a whole ass research paper I need to finish by tomorrow. I don't know what time tomorrow. I need to check. I need to finish it by tomorrow, and I haven't started it at all.
Secretly as a VTuber I play Minecraft and also I am the peakest known to man as a Lil Sussy Baka.
Lil Sussy Baka. I can't believe you called yourself a Lil Sussy Baka. What the fuck? It's a wild thing to call yourself. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I really want to talk about today. Might leave it for next stream. Oh, right. You know what? By the end of this week, but before next stream, hopefully, I will push out the final version of the MCP client implementation for Project JASN. I'll also announce the transition to Project... What did you say? To Project Vita. And... What else? What else was I gonna say? I'll make sure to push all of those changes out officially and announce it later, but there was one thing that left that I did want to say. Right, I am also going to make the form for next stream for you guys to submit your articles for me to react to on stream. Again, if you weren't here for the last stream, it's basically like you send in blog posts or whatever. If you guys watch the Primogen, it's basically like that. But you send blogs, you send articles. It can be of...
Sorry, I'm just that peak bro. I love Among Us at 5 AM. It's my secret to skill grinding.
Bro has peak brain rot going right now. But yeah, basically whatever kind of tech-related readings you would want me to do, you can send them through that forum. I'll give them a read. The moderators will look through, pick out ones that are like appropriate or whatever, and I'll read them on stream and give my reactions to them. So yeah. I send him links of memes, guys. Okay, bro. I'm gonna make sure that the articles are actually articles and not some such shit. Okay, I got my eyes on you, Haku. Alright, well anyways, you're gonna go? Well, I got to go too then. I'll see you all on Saturday, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not too busy at that point, and I do actually have time like I say I do. But yeah, until then, enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you guys next time. So, see ya.
How did you know?